Hey, Goss here. This is the day that I unveil the top 10 concerts I have ever seen. Clue. Anyhow, Christy gave me a good, or actually, she asked me a question, but at the same time, made a good point. When you do a video, how do you do it? And I was just basically just shooting from the hip. And she's made many videos, and beautiful ones. Um, and she uses bullet points. So I'm trying to adopt that a little bit. I use it during some of my fantasy football stuff because I needed some stats at my fingertips. But anyhow, um, I found this when before we moved. I found this book, and within the book are some lists that I had made. Top concerts, injuries, best moments in sports, and stadiums I had been to, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I guess I consider myself a writer, a journalist of some sort. Anyhow, the I saw a lot of concerts back in the day as a young man. Let's say 20s and 30s. When I was in my 20s and 30s, would be when the majority of these concerts I actually, was at them. But music has always been something that was an enjoyment thing for me. I remember the first time our family, which wasn't really music oriented, my mother would play her radio in the kitchen, of course, and my father would play these corny tapes. Roger Whittaker, Roger Whittaker. Oh my God! I guess he would play cassettes in his truck or whatever, but it wasn't like a musical household, except for one year. They bought a CD play. I'm sorry, eight track, eight track player, little thing. I think it was made by Sharp, right? About this big. And these little puny speakers. But my dad hooked it up, and we ordered some. We ordered some tapes from Columbia House. Columbia House was a thing back in the day when you would like get a promotional thing where you'd get like eight eight tapes for $1, and then every month they would send you a tape or something like that. It was like a club. It was a come on, really. Um, but we did it, and I can remember three tapes. There was a handful of them. Contemporary music at the time: American Beauty, Grateful Dead. Yes, yes. Back in the late '60s, I would say, around there. But anyhow, one of the greatest albums of all time, American Beauty, Grateful Dead. Paul McCartney, Ram. I hear these songs still from these two particular albums, and to a lesser degree, Grand Funk Live. Oh, this was head banging music before my head was, well, back when my prior to my head getting inundated with stuff. Anyhow, so we would play those tapes, and then a little later, when I was a junior in high school, actually, I went to my first concert, and it might be on this list here. So I went to a lot of concerts. I kept the stubs. I would buy a shirt now and then, but of course, I threw away the stubs, which was a big mistake. Very collectible these days, but I did, and I went to concerts with various people. Um, and it was fun. It was a fun time. It was an experience. Going to concerts was an experience, and it wasn't just about the band or even the music. The venue was important. The experience. I mean, let's face it. It was pretty. It was like the Wild West back then. You know, people were enjoying themselves at the concerts, myself included. It's amazing that I remembered all this stuff, but it's funny how memories work. Sometimes I believe that there's a portion in your brain where certain stuff goes and gets locked in a box. And that does occur with me. You know, there's a lot of this going on, but when stuff that's meaningful to me, it's collected in a safe. And maybe that's how I comprise this list, which I made years ago. And I might have missed some stuff. The bands that I never saw that I wish I saw, David Bowie. He didn't come around in the East. I don't remember having missed the show, but I just never saw him. Um, the Stones, everybody, it's anybody that does a rock person has seen the Stones. I haven't. My wife has seen them, but I haven't. Um, Tom Petty. Tom Petty was to me one of my favorites, but I got to know Petty a little after the fact. I had an LP of his that I forget which one it was that I played constantly, but I did acquire a good stereo when I, you know, was probably 18, 19 years old. I was working at the bank, and I knew this gal who sold her husband. He sold stereos, so they hooked me up with a nice Sherwood receiver, uh, a turntable, and really a excellent pair of Altec speakers. My mother hated those speakers. They were big and loud. And you know how many times she shouted upstairs, "Johnny, turn that off! Turn it down!" Oh, it was constant. That stuff lived with me for a long time. I had it in my 20s, and maybe into my 30s, and finally, it went like stuff goes. Um, then later in life, more as an adult, as a senior citizen, maybe even had these. I had a wonderful set of Athena speakers, these tower speakers. They're awesome. I have them in storage right now. I don't use them. Now I've graduated to the surround sound, and I don't play records. I was thinking of bringing the wax back, but when we moved, um, it was liquidation central. I called these hippies from Massachusetts over. If you ever want to know their name, I'll give it to you. They came to my house, looked through my discs, and made me an offer, and it was pitiful. I said no. The girl's looking at me like, "Well, what are you're just going to throw this stuff away?" I said, "I'll give it away, but I'm not going to give it to you." So she sharpened the pencil, and at the same time, I had a lot of CDs, which I had. I'm semi-intelligent. I know how to put music from a CD onto my phone, for instance. And now, so I kept some stuff, but I was able to sell a bunch of stuff to these people who own a place in New York over the Connecticut border. They were nice. She was playing the bad cop, and he was playing the good cop. So I guess that was about it. Um, so now I enjoy music on the surround sound. Yeah, I play it through my phone, um, either music from iTunes or I have a couple other ways of doing it. XM. I love this Minnesota public radio station that Christy and Mike turned me on to. Play it all the time, and the sound in these teeny little speakers are like yay big. Oh, it's fantastic. I can't believe it. And I have a woofer, so I can rock the Casbah. I do. And when Sarge leaves the building, you can count on it. Carrie and I have been to some concerts. None of them are on this list. A handful of concerts we've been to. This is more like Gaz as a Gobber as a rogue single individual stuff. All right, so I'm going to start. I actually got 12 listed here. My dirty dozen. I was talking about venues. So this first concert was the first concert that I ever went to. And, the numbers I have on this list, I don't know how much thought I gave into it, but they're number 12 on this list. And it was The first show I ever went to was in the New Haven Arena. I mean, this place no longer exists. It was in downtown New Haven. It was this bandbox of a hockey stadium. Um, my father used to bring us there to see the EHL, the New Haven Blades, and these people were brutal. It was minor league hockey, more fighting than hockey, smoke-filled arena. Things were different back then. People were allowed to do stuff that doesn't fly these days. Um, eh, okay. So anyhow, I went to Emerson, Lake and Palmer show with Scott, one of my good buddies that I grew up with, Scott Hubbard, who was my neighbor and my best friend, I guess, growing up. For the most part, he was right there. And then this guy, Phil Hamilton, who I played ball with, and he was Scott's age, but a friend of mine also. And we saw Tall, and Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show opened it. So it was good. I'll never forget Keith Emerson. Amazing. He would do that physical beating of the organ. And I mean, he was just a wonderful player. And it was really loud. Small place. ELP is not to be listened to on two. It's roaring, and not a lot of words. I mean, they had some songs. Some songs with lyrics and some not, and it was really good. Number 11 is Kiss at the Springfield Civic Center. Yeah, Gobbler listened to Kiss. Yep, he did. It was a spectacle. I mean, Kiss is more about the spectacle than it is the music, I think. I mean, the guy breathing fire, these elaborate stage stuff. The only thing I can compare it to, and it didn't make the list, was Alice Cooper. I saw a Cooper show at the New Haven Coliseum. My cousins actually from Maine were with me, and my good buddy Kyle Donovan. But that didn't make the grade. But Alice Cooper had known for the stage show, right, with the guillotine, and he had the snake, and stuff that had nothing to do with music, but it was fun. Kiss was pretty darn good. Yeah, it was kind of spectacular, and I listened to Kiss albums, so I was familiar with the music. Number 11. Well, that was 11. Number 10, Joe Jackson. A young Joe Jackson, punk rock, right? Gobbler liked punk rock. I mean, I didn't see a whole lot of punk. I never got to see the Ramones. My brother Paul, in fact, told me he saw the Ramones. His first concert, I think, was no. Anyhow, he said he saw the Ramones at Toad's Place. And they played there all the time. I never was into punk at that time, I guess. But Joe Jackson at the Oxford Ale House in Little Bar in Hamden. Now, this is what I'm talking about. A place that probably held 100 people, and you're right there. And that music was loud and it was good. Joe Jackson's early albums, I mean, they're classics. Number 10, that was 10. Number 9, The Cars. Yep, at Shaboom in Willimantic. Tiny venue over by Yukon, right? Many historic bands had played there. But I went to the show with my brother Paul and a friend of ours, Guy McConey. This is the thing I remember about it, other than I knew that I had listened to the Cars' first album, and this is all the music they had at the time. So I was familiar with it. That first Cars album was just tremendous. We saw the show, and they had an intermission. And this isn't really common in rock concerts, right, where you have an intermission. But they had an intermission, and people went outside to get air or whatever. I remember going outside, and there was this wooden bench, and there's 4 guys sitting on it, and guess what? It was the Cars. They're sitting there like just casual people, drinking a beer or doing whatever they were doing, but they just looked common. except for maybe their clothing. But in a few minutes, they went back in, and guess what? They played the exact same set. I think that's all they had in the bag at the time. Played that first album, side one, side two, maybe not in that order. Then intermission, comes back, does it again. And it was still good. We had a long drive, so maybe we didn't stay for the whole thing. But I guess the fact that I was that close to the rock gods is just was kind of cool. Even though at the time they were nobody, it turned out to be really spectacular. Number 8, El Rocho and Tower of Power at Woolsey Hall in New Haven. Woolsey Hall in New Haven is a historic place. It is this fantastic venue. And there was this band that opened up, El Rocho. They were excellent. I've scrounged up one of their albums. Very good. But Tower of Power just blew the place away. I mean, Tower of Power is powerful. Horn section that's incomparable, except for I did see Chicago once, and their horn section was diverse and quite good. But I don't think it's good. So that was number 8. Like venue. See what I'm talking about? Woolsey Hall, spectacular venue. Best venue I ever went in, was Royal Albert Theatre in London. This is a sidetrack I'm on here. When we went to see Trey in France, we traveled to London together. Anyhow, we ended up in London, and there was something going on at this hall, and it was, I mean, it was bling. It was just the most fantastic, beautiful, historic building I'd ever been in my life, I think. We didn't see a rock show. There was some sort of holiday thing going on, and Carrie and Trey, for some reason, they weren't enthused. It was some long days we had, so we stayed for maybe an hour. But I was just immersed in it. I felt like I was stepping into history. So as far as venue, that would be number 1. Number 7, Springfield Civic Center. It was one of those shows where they had open, the floor was open so you could stand. You probably didn't have an assigned seat. That much I remember. Faces with Rod Stewart. I don't remember who played first and who played last year. It's cloudy. Edgar Winter Group and Thin Lizzy. I was at a show once, and it was spectacular. It was just, I loved all 3 bands, so it was just like, I was in heaven. Thin Lizzy. I took Trey to his first concert in New Haven. We saw Blackberry Smoke, Southern rock, really good band, excellent, highly recommended. But anyhow, I wore this shirt to the show, and this guy tapped me on the shoulder, and in a strong Irish brogue, with a tear running down his eye, "That's the best band ever. Thank you." He cried when he saw this shirt. Wow. Phil Lynott was the lead guy in Thin Lizzy. He was Irish. The rest of the band, I'm not sure. But anyhow, that was a good show. I mean, you talk about a triple bill with Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart, before he was just the Rod Stewart, he was still in the band The Faces, and he was well known. But Rod Stewart is as unique can be. I mean, that voice, come on. Number 6, the Allman Brothers at Boston Garden. Yep. Now, Boston Garden, great venue. Great venue. I mean, I couldn't help but thinking, I never saw a Celtic game. I never saw a Bruin game. Here I am at Boston Garden. But guess what? Allman Brothers. And this band, this Southern band that nobody pretty much had heard of, that just had their first album just out not that long before this, Leonard Skinner. That's right. Holy shit. I'm like, this is unbelievable. Almonds. Oh, jeez. They were a bit of a jam band. I'm not really that group. I maybe have the attention span for jam bands. I saw the Dead once, and it just wasn't cutting it. I I didn't like it, truthfully. Um. Anyhow, moving up to number 5, Palace Theater, Waterbury, Connecticut. Great small venue. Picture an old movie theater from 1945. The curtains, the balcony, the velour seat type of thing. Lou Reed. Lou Reed! Oh my God, that was something. And you know who opened? Well, you wouldn't know, but you might have even heard of this act. Maggie Bell. Look her up. Maggie Bell was very good. All right, we're up to number 4. Another great venue. Tower Theater in Philly. I don't know if it's still there. Fun fact, Chrissy and I saw a show in Philly. Not maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago. New York Dolls. Gobbler finally got to see the Dolls. It was the Dolls that exist today, which means Johnny Thunder wasn't there. He's dead. Um, but the other guys were the New York Dolls. It was really good. Yeah, I loved this place in Philly. It was the Academy of Music, actually. It's a good place. We were a little stretched for time because we were supposed to be at a family thing, and we decided to go to Philly to go to a concert. Not exactly received that great, but I was good to be at a concert with Christy. I actually took her to our first concert, the Blue Oyster Cult. Oh my, loud, good, but feeling it in your bones loud. And here I am bringing a teenager to this show. Her ears probably never recovered. Not a good idea, Gobbler. Um, but she seems to hear okay, I guess. All right, back to the Palace, back to the Tower Theater. The Doobie Brothers, who are hotter than hot back then. Captain and Me, um, uh, Toulouse Street. Those two albums, absolutely classics. It's not a hard rock. But it's definitely rock. Um, the blazing twin guitars, or was it 3 guitars? I don't even remember, but they were really darn good. And the person that opened the show, pretty much an unknown, Billy Joel, the Piano Man, a young, thin, enthusiastic Billy Joel. And my buddy Kyle's telling me, Billy Joel, man, you're going to like it. I said, who's he? He said, just watch. He's great. And he was right. He was great. Really good. So that's right up there. That was number 4. Number 3, Palace Theater. Back to the Palace. To see a band that I was a big fan of. Mott the Hoople. Was it punk? I don't know, maybe. But Mott the Hoople, man, they were one of Gobbler's bands, one of my favorites. And they blew that place up. But the band that opened the show ended up being one of the greatest, some people call the greatest rock band ever. and they were spectacular that night. They had one album out, Queen. That's right. I can remember it was like it was yesterday. Uh, it's fantastic. I mean, Freddie before Freddie went over the top camp, but still like a young Mick Jagger out there. And oh my God, that was a great show. Another um, great place to see shows in Torrington. Um, I can't think of the theater. It was more one of the more songs I saw. Maybe I don't know, as a member of ARP. But anyhow, I saw Squeeze. Squeeze was great. I love Squeeze. Oh my God, they were good. And then this is a fun fact. I didn't have a ticket. Made a piece of cardboard. I've done this at football games. Trey hated it. I did it at a golf event. You don't have a ticket. All you got to do is make a cardboard sign. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Get a piece of cardboard. Need a ticket. Never fails. Never fails. So I got a good ticket and saw Squeeze. It was excellent. Quite good, in fact. Also a great theater in New London, the Guard Theater. I went there when I was at Quinnipiac because I had to do a review of a concert as part of a class I had. And I saw Charlie Musselwhite, um, Duke Robillard, a bunch of bands. It was really excellent. It was a beautiful place like the Palace. So I got off the subject there for a sec, but Queen, number 3. Number 2, this is going to be a surprise. The Tubes at the Bottom Line. Now, the Bottom Line is a hole-in-the-wall club in New York City somewhere. It's probably still there. Probably holds 300 people. It's like a cabaret. You have a little table. You can order food. You can order drinks. It was like a civilized Toad's place, I guess. And I had heard the first Tubes album, and I turned a buddy of mine, Johnny H., onto it. And we drove to the city to see the Tubes. And it was a late show. They would have like an 8 o'clock show and then 11 or something like that. And I remember waiting in line, and I'm looking in there, and I see a band playing. I assumed it was the Tubes, and they were all dressed up and acting wacko. And it was Fee Waybill who was the lead. He had a wig on, and the long story short, the Tubes are very theatrical, and they're awesome. They're excellent in concert. Fee Waybill is amazing. They were doing costume changes between each song, it seemed. The music was really tight. I knew the music because I played that album so many times. It was, like second nature. And it's overall atmosphere. I got dressed up. I put on my version of a costume. I had this frilly shirt you would wear to the prom or something, and I had bell bottoms on. I don't know why I did it or what would the point be, but I remember that as being just blew my socks off. Number 1, back to Boston Garden. The Garden. All right, I get a call from my buddy Cash. He said, me and Donnie are going up to the see Zeppelin. You want to come? I said, when? He said, we're going to leave in a few minutes. I said, yeah, I'm in. So we drove to Boston from Guilford, 2.5 hour drive or whatever it was, and we get there. The show's just about to start. We scrounge up tickets, and we don't go to our seat. We just plow our way forward, walk right on the floor, and we find 3 empty seats. We're like, I don't know, 10, 15 rows away. and the lights go dim. I mean, it was perfect timing, right? So the fans are starting, they're like starting, it's like quiet. And then you could kind of hear some noise up on the stage, but it was pitch black. Then the lights come up, then Zepp's in place. No, and then you hear drums, right? And then the lights turn on and Zepp's in place. And, and fucking John Bonham is ripping on the drums with rock and roll. Oh my God, what a moment that was. I'm like, this is spectacular. And it was the whole fucking 9 yards. Zepp had at the time, I think the fourth album was, it was right around when their fourth album, Zoso album, came out, the one with Stairway to Heaven on it. The one that put them over the top, I guess you could say. But any Zepp fan will tell you that the first 2, 3 albums are even better than that. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But known as the greatest hardcore rock and roll band in the land, yeah, I was there. Donnie was there. Cash was there. We had a fine time. It was just like priceless. Like I said, in the vault. I don't really listen to Zepp that much these days. My musical taste is a little tamer, I guess you could say. But so that's my Dirty Dozen. Carrie and I we've gone to a few concerts. We saw Bruce. To me, Bruce, I was never part of the mania, I guess you could say. I loved Bruce. I thought Clarence was spectacular for sure, but I never got the feeling like this is cracking the top 10 material. I saw him at least twice. And her and I went to a few shows. Maybe the most notable in the New Haven Green, I saw David Sanborn when I was starting to get into jazz a bit. And what a horn player. Oh my God. Really good. Well, so we went to a tribute concert not that long ago. Petty Fever. And the guy looked like Petty, and he sounded like him pretty good. He did. It was a good show. It was at the Odell Williamson Auditorium. Great place. 20 minute drive from where I live. And they have concerts there. And we're going to one in January, actually January 20th. I remember this date. You know, it's funny, like I said, certain things stick in your brain. January 20th, I know, is my brother Paul's birthday. There aren't a lot of things for sure, dates like that are in my brain, but I always know that is my brother's birthday. And it seems to be the day maybe that the president maybe gets confirmed. I'm not sure about that. But on January 20th, we're going to go see Face to Face, Billy Joel and Elton John. And talking about Elton, yes, I've seen him twice. First time I saw him, well, I was by myself in Hartford. And then Carrie and I went back to see him on what was supposed to be, what is his retirement cruise, whatever it's called, his last concerts. It's been going on for 3 years now. This guy doesn't want to quit. He's still good. The Rocket Man is still the Rocket Man. But when I saw him in Hartford many years before that, the voice was different. It was better. And there's a lot of bands I saw that didn't make this list. I saw Fleetwood Mac at UConn, which I ended up being quite a big fan of. Deep Purple. I can name bands for sure. You could see the genre that I would prefer. That I lean towards. But anyhow. Music, I don't really have any musical ability. I would like to learn how to play the harmonica. And I'm going to try to learn how to play the harmonica. I just saw a great special on TV about Paul Butterfield, and his blues band and his trials and tribulations. But man, this guy, unbelievable harmonica player. Um, and they called him Butter. What a great name. Oh my God. But anyhow, I like watching stuff on TV about stuff like I just got done watching a Van Halen the early years on Tubi. It was really good. It was excellent. It showed the how this ordinary people in California they ended up being one of the best rock bands ever. I never saw Van Halen, so I would put them on a list of bands I wish I had seen that I didn't see. But you can't see them all, right? And as far as new music, it's not really my jam, as they say. But I like music. I turn it on in the car all the time. I'm at home. We've been blasting Christmas music for a couple weeks now, and I like it. Not the traditionals are good, and then I like some of the more jazz and some stuff that's a little more non-mainstream. But anyhow, so I guess I would say, what concerts have you seen? Do you have a list? All right, that's it for now. As they say, rock on. Oh, let's not forget, mine and Trey's one of our favorite movies, School of Rock. Jack Black is the man. He was playing in Wilmington this summer. Carrie and I are downtown Wilmington, down by the river, and they have a venue down there, and we see people walking by with badges. So there was a concert in town, and I forget the name of the group, but it was Jack Black and his band. So when he was in School of Rock, he's got musical ability. And anyhow, long story short, Trey and I had our watched that movie more times than I could count. And I see that movie. It just brings back good memories for me. And the shows I went back, yep, not forgotten. Out.